Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video, we are going to learn how to launch EC2 instance, and also we are going to learn how to connect to the same instance that we have launched over the SSH connectivity from the local machine. So let's get started with the practical. Uh, you have to be logged into your AWS Management Console account. Either using the different IAM user, which has the full access to the EC2 instance creation and management, and otherwise you can use your root account for the practice. So in the dashboard of the management console, you can locate your EC2 instance from the services, which can be found under the compute category. After clicking, you will find the dashboard of the EC2, which will be defaultly loaded. In the left side, this is called the left navigation pane, where you will see the related informations options that you can perform additionally on the EC2 instances. Um in the dashboard main area, top area, you will see the stats, which is related to your quick information on the EC2 instance that those are currently launched, and how many number of key pairs or elastic IPs, snapshots, or load balancers, or security groups, volumes are into force. And it will summarize all of the information related to the region you are into. So currently I'm into the Mumbai region, and in the Mumbai region I do not have any single instance up and running, but I do have a couple of key pairs and security groups. For that there's no charges. So let's get started with the button launch instance. So you can either click over here in the dashboard launch instance, or in the dedicated instances page, you can also find the same thing. So you can either start from there or here. Both will take you to the next screen, where you will see 7 of the steps listed out. And the first one, which is active one, where you are allowed to choose the AMI, which is the Amazon machine image. And these images are offered through three different options currently. So one is your own image, which you have created earlier. Maybe suppose if you launch your EC2 instance and keep it in a certain shape by installing and maintaining the application environment. You can take your machine image of the running instance, and later, wherever you want to replicate the same machine, you can use the same AMI to create the as many machine you want to replicate with. So that's your own AMI, and currently I do not have here, so it's not shown anything. But whenever you have, it will list up here, and you can choose and launch the EC2 instance from. Second option is AWS Marketplace. AWS Marketplace is the commercial hub, you can say, where the different vendors are registered with AWS, and they sell their softwares. So there are several software categories over here you can see, and under that you can see so many different product options you have. So you can browse and buy the one that you are looking for, or you can directly search the keywords over here in the search box and hit the enter to filter it out and show only the options that you're looking for. Suppose if I'm looking for MongoDB, then I can search the MongoDB over here, and the vendors related to the MongoDB will be listed out. I'll be getting the different options. Suppose I'm looking for a Jenkins or Ansible or something else, then maybe ELK. I can type over here, and if those softwares are sold as a my bundle, I'll get the list of them, right? So this is the paid option, but you also have a fully free option, which is Community Edition. So in the Community Edition, you get several of the operating system as well as platform as a service bundled database installation along with your operating systems. Plus several other softwares as well, maybe Docker engines, or maybe some other software that you may need it. So you can find it out over here. Same thing applies here. You can filter out based on your need. So you can put the high level keywords here, and it will sort it out based on the what you're looking for. You also have a choice for operating system and architecture. So you can choose what architecture, what uh, operating systems that you are looking for. So you have plenty of option from the operating system. Suppose I'm looking for Linux, which I'm looking for. So Amazon Linux, I have several of options over here, and I can take any of them, right? So there's a community edition. So I'll go back to the quick start, which will help me to understand which particular image has free eligibility. So which will be labeled with the free tier eligible tag, and that will help me to understand, being in the free tier, what I am allowed to use without giving any charges. So I'll select this first one, which is Amazon Linux 2MI HVM SSD volume type. And after selecting, I'll move to the next screen where I'll be allowed to select the different type of instances. So I have several options listed out here. There are a lot of options from the different 5 different categories, which is general purpose memory optimized, compute optimized, GPU optimized, storage optimized, right? So there are these different options of the instance type. Again, the free tier limitation is you can only choose the T2 micro without paying any cost. But if you want to pay cost and experiment, you will be able to choose the different size of the vCPU and memory. So you can feel free to do that. So I'll go with the default one, which is selected. And I have a choice. I can directly launch from here with the default network configurations and the tag and storage limitations. Whatever it will be default required, it will take it. But since I have to open the port and connectivity to the public, so I have to go to the security group, the sixth one. Either I can complete here, or post launch I can also do that. But I would like to continue and configure the instance properly, so that I can also explain where to do what. Next screen, you will find it out how many number of instances you want to launch. So it's possible you can provision multiple instances together. So suppose if you need hundreds of servers, you can put 100 here, and Amazon will make sure that they provision 100 servers in parallel with the same configuration, whatever you choose. And then once it's ready, you can see everything in the running state into your dashboard. So this is what this parameter will help you with. Next is the purchasing option. So if you want to build and get the spot instances, which is far cheaper, the cheapest one among all other purchasing options. So I'm not going for purchasing option as a spot instance. I'm going for on demand basically. So I'll just go with the default one. And network VPC will go with the default VPC is making your own complete infrastructure isolated from the public networks. So the VPC is that option basically. So right now we are going with the default VPC. We are not going for custom VPC. We are not modifying the network connectivities and things to make it more secure. But yeah, when you need a production infrastructure, you should choose the VPC. You should create a new VPC, custom VPC, and then create a subnet under it, and then you keep your instances under a subnet which follows the certain rules, right? So and IP addressing, right? So we are not going to do that right now. We'll do that in a VPC section. So right now we'll stick to this. Subnets are like a smaller group of network within the VPC, which has the similar IP range followed. So they fall under the same IP range and they connect to the same router. And they follow the route table rules, the common route table rules, as long as all the machines are into same subnet, right? So subnet is going to give additional layer of security through the route table rules. and that is how it's going to make less or more open in a network connectivity. So that's the mechanism of no, filtering out who can access where who can be the guy who will be sending the request or where this request can be taken from. Next is the auto assign IP, public IP, and this is enabled. So make sure it is enabled for this lab, because we are going to connect to this instance that will launch from our laptop or local machine, which requires the public IP address. So this option enable will ensure that we get the public IP address. Otherwise, Amazon will give the private IP address only. So next is yeah, so we are going to just talk about the IAM role now. So here I can have a EC2 instance role connected to this, and this will protect my EC2 instance from getting connected or getting connected by any of user who does not have the similar role, right? So if the user does not have the same role, they'll not be able to connect it. So this is for security. Additional layer of security, I would say, at the user and role level, which is managed by the IAM. So in the IAM, you can create your user and give a role and permission, which will have the same role and permission what this EC2 instance is having. If it doesn't match, it will not allow to access the EC2 instance. So you can experiment if you want. You have to just locate your service IAM, and IAM will be here in the security identity and compliance. And from there, you should launch your user and give the role as a EC2 instance role, right? And then EC2 instance role, if you're giving, that user will be able to send the request, right? So if any resources who is sending the request to this particular EC2 instance, if they do not have IAM role matching with this, they'll be not allowed to access the machine. Then comes as a shutdown behavior. So shutdown behavior, ideally when you shut down, whether it should terminate or stop. So by default, shutdown implicitly means stopping the instance. That means you can restart your instance from the shutdown. But if you change shutdown behavior to terminate, you will not be able to get your machine back. It will be destroyed, and the resources, the VM will be taken in a pool for further be used by other other users, right? Then you can enable, so enable two of the flags, which first will protect you against the accidental termination. Suppose by any chance you terminate, or any of the user terminates the EC2 instance that is running, this flag is going to stop them to do so. And it will just remind that there is a accidental protect flag enable, which will stop them by throwing that warning. And firstly they have to come here and then disable this flag and then start terminating if the termination is the intention actually. So unintended or accidental delete termination of the EC2 instance can be protected by this flag. So you can enable for your EC2 instances. Monitoring is going to enable all the logging and log watch inside the CloudWatch basically, which will take all the logs from the EC2 instance and plot the charts, and based on that you can verify, see that how your EC2 is doing, right? Tenancy, we are going to keep it as a shared because we do not want the dedicated one. A dedicated one will ensure me the dedicated hardwares are dedicated for me only, and it's not getting shared by any of other tenants. That means there is no other AWS account is sharing the same hardware piece where my EC2 instance is getting launched. So for now, definitely this is going to be a little costlier than the shared one. So shared one is the intention for me right now. I'll go with that. There will be the additional charges which is mentioned here, so you can find out how that charges works. Now, since we are using the T2, but it's a limited, so we can upgrade it to the T3 unlimited and or T2 unlimited. So using this flag, which will give us more flexibility and larger size of VM. So if that is the intention, you should enable it from here. This will incur the charge again. We are again going to click the next button, which is add storage, and from the add storage we'll be able to add the EBS volumes if we need it. So currently this particular AMI that we have selected requires only 8 GB for its own use, so it has given the current and default settings of it. So this is going to be volume type root. The root volumes are going to store the MBRs, the master boot records of the operating system and operating system related files. So this is only one drive I will get it, or the EBS volume I will get it here, which has the IOPS of 100. And this is following the volume type GP2, which is general purpose SSD backed. And you also have an option to go for a provisioned IOPS SSD. So this is a SSD backed again, and this will modify or help you to improve your IOPS basically. So you'll get a different IOPS, and you can decide your IOPS by yourself. So, but right now we are going to go with general purpose SSD, and general purpose SSD is quite favorite option for MBR or root volume. So root volume using the general purpose SSD is quite faster and reliable. So we should stick to that. And again, here you have volume delete termination on. So this flag will help you accidental delete happens, right? So no, not an accidental delete, sorry. So this is related to if you want to delete your EC2 instance, and you also want your EBS volume to be deleted along. So you can check this button, and if it's checked, it will be destroyed along with the EC2 instances when you terminate it. If unchecked, this will be dangling, and that will be there. So then you can delete it manually, or you can use it attaching to some other EC2 instance when you launch. There is a option called encryption. So here you can choose your encryption, which is KMS backed encryption. So KMS is a key management service offered by AWS, which manages the key internally for encryption. So you can just create a KMS key and alias, and you can use that key alias to encrypt this volume. And whenever you are migrating this volume to the cross zone or different availability zone, that time you can use the same key to decrypt and use that to attach or read it in different places. So here, this is going to protect the data inside my root volume if I take the KMS encryption enabled. So now I'm going to go back to the not encrypted, and this has the charge for the KMS key. So basically, KMS keys are charged when you create your KMS key. There is a charge for that. Next, I would go to the tags. So you can tag your machine for the several purposes. One of the purposes to group them well, so that you know this is my dev environment machine. So I can say that the name of the machine as a app server, and I can add another tag as a environment as a dev environment. And similarly, for other resources that I create, I can give a different tag. And suppose if I want to track the all dev machine or how they are doing and what charges they are incurring right now, so I can, if I want to pull out the report only for the dev environment machines, I can do that. Or if I want to apply some of the changes in a all dev machines. So all of the EC2 machines which has the tag as a environment and value of the tag as a dev, I can apply some change into all of them at a time in a single go. So these are the potentially um, good use case of the tagging. And tagging will also allow you to limit the user machines caps basically. So you can define how much uh, each tag should use it. So for that you have to frame the rule and put it so that in the monitoring it will be capped. So these things you can do it very easily with the tagging. So practice creating the tags so that no you can organize your resources well and manage them better way. Next option is to have the configure security key. Here security groups, basically we are going to use the existing one which we have. So we have a default security group and which will list out which traffic and which rules it's following. So currently we have all the traffic open for all of them. So this is what in the existing security group, the options are set like this. So all the inbound rules are set for all the traffics for the v4 addressing and IPv6 addressing as well. So both of them are enabled right now. But what we are going to do is we'll create the new security group so that we can configure by our own and see that how that rule works over here. So I'm going to name the security group as a my app server SG, which is a security group. And description I'm going to give same. So this is what my description and name will look like. And since I'm going to only connect to this particular EC2 instance over the SSH and not anywhere else for this particular video, so I'm going to put it to SSH, which is the default one. And the port is 22, so it has already taken it, and SSH works on a 22 port. Source for the traffic is going to be my machine, so I can say my IP address, and it will derive my IP address from my machine. So it has already ran some utility behind the scene, and then figured out my IP address and put it in here, right? So this is the only rule that we want, but if you want some more rule to be there, you can click on add rule and add the different rules. So these are the rules, different rules appears here. You can put the custom TCP or ICMP rules. So ICMP rules are going to give you the pinging capability. So you can ping your systems either from the IPv and IPv6 accordingly you have to configure. SSH we have already seen, so SMTP for the mailing, HTTP for all HTTP application servers or HTTP based protocol communications. Similarly, there are several others in the RDP, MySQL, MS SQL. There are several other options which you can enable the moment you choose the specific one. Suppose, for example, if you want MySQL, it will load with the default IP at the port number, and here I can choose to give the IP address of the guy who is going to communicate with my database. So this is the additional thing that you, if you need to set in your use case, please follow the step like this. So once we are done with our rule setting of the security group, we can review and launch. That's the final step, the seventh one. So we have taken the T2 micro with the EBS single volume, which is our root volume, and SSH rule is TCP 22 port, and that should be allowing the connectivity only from my IP address, right? So this is all from the review. You can review the other part of it, what we have taken. And once it comes to the key connectivity, right? So SSH connectivity, we need the key to connect to EC2 instance over SSH. So we are going to give we are first going to create the new key. So we are not if we do not have the existing key, we should go for a create key. And create key will allow us to download our key pair. So I'm going to name them so that I can refer it. So this is my app server key pair. And once I download it, it will pull the key in my local. And next is to launch instance. So after that, the instance should be start launching. Yep. So here you can go and see the instance that is launched, and here that's the only one that is getting launched, and this is the state pending in the beginning. You can also see the instance, basically the logs from the instance. So get the system log. You can check the what is happening right now with your app server. So this will load the logs of the installation and configuration of the machine, so you can find it out. So there's no logs shown, so or maybe it's taking time. So that was hanging. So let's retry the same. We are not able to see the logs, but some of the instances you can see, some of the instances doesn't show it based on your AMI, depends on it. So at the moment for this particular instance, it's not showing the log, but the log will appear over here if you have the different instance, different AMI. Please do try that so that you can understand what all processes it does over the process of provisioning your resources. So when it is trying to provision the resource, it writes all the steps inside it. So maybe after completely done, they have the log available right now for me. No. Anyway, but this is the place where you should be able to see the logs of your server that you have launched. So please do verify from your end if you see that logs. So quick information. So here I'll just pull it up. You will see the instance ID. The instance ID is the ID of the instance that is given to the newly launched server. State of it, that means it is in a running state. What type of instance we have chosen. There's no IP, elastic IP given to it because we have not opted it for this. And elastic IPs are the IP similar to the public IP. They are the public IP, but it's static in nature. The elastic IPs are, I'm sorry. So they come from the pool basically, and there is a pool of elastic IPs maintained by AWS. Why they do so? Because the public IPs are not guaranteed to be same on the restart of the machine. So anytime there is an accidental or intentional restart happen on the instances, you may lose your public IP. So this public IP may be different if you restart it. So we can verify that quickly. So if I reboot the instance, which is rebooting, so I can refresh and see that. So it takes a little bit of time. Let's see that. Yep. So the public IP will change once we have a reboot process completed. So that is ideally to protect your or keep your IP fix. The elastic IPs are used. So elastic IPs gives you more certainty on the IP address. It's a fix throughout the life of it. Once you take the elastic IPs from the pool and associate here, you can use the same IP address referring from your DNS or DNS Route 53, and it's not going to change. Alternatively, you can also use the public DNS. Public DNS is also not going to change, but the uh, public IPs, they can modify. So if there is a patch update or a certain time uh, schedule reboot of the machines, then your IP address is more likely to modify. And the moment it happens, if any other resources using this EC2 instance so over the public IP address, they may find the difficulty. It will break the link. So as a practice, you should use the elastic IP if needed. And of course, when you have to expose this service publicly, then you need and over the IP address, then you should use it. Otherwise, the public DNS are fixed, so it is not going to change over the time. And if you, as long as your services deployed in EC2 has to be consumed by the resources inside the same subnet, you can also use the private IP or private DNS. This is more fixed, and for local network concepts, this is the one that is more guaranteed and should be practiced, right? So other than elastic IP, we have availability zone. We have selected subnet, specific subnet of the VPC and the availability zone. So this is in a Mumbai 1B, South Asia Pacific. So here is where my server is launched. And this is the security group which we have inbound rule as a 22 port and outbound rule as everything. So from our server to outside internet, everything is possible to be connected. That means my server can call to any internet page from being inside, and outside to inside. Only thing can be connecting is the over SSH. So 22 port is only open, and that is also only limited to the IP address over here. So the only IP address which is allowed to access this machine from the internet. Now there is no IAM role attached. This is the Keypair, and owner is the account ID of this AWS account. Coming back to this side, you have a public DNS, public IP address, and you also have a private DNS and public private IP address. Default VPC ID that you have, VPC we have used, subnet which was the default subnet inside the VPC. We have used the same one. We are using the default VPC and default subnet. There's no change in that. We have block-based EBS volume, and EBS is block-based basically. So block-based device, and that's the root device basically. So that's the root volume. So this is it about the instance. So right now what we are going to do is we'll click on the connect, and here we'll get the sample of SSH connectivity command, so we can copy it. Ideally it is made of 3 parts. So first will be the command itself, and in the argument -i you can pass the key pair name, so the file name of the key pair. If you are connecting from your local, make sure that your key pairs are in the local path. Otherwise, add the path, absolute path of the file or relative path of that file to make it more accessible, right? So if it's accessible, then only you will be able to hit this command. Otherwise, it will say key pair file not found. So such error you might get. And third part is the user of that EC2 instance, and it's going to be most of the time EC2-user by default, but you have a chance to create other user, and you can also use the root user if you enable it. So EC2 user is going to be your default user most of the time, whatever the instance you're launching in the Linux using the Linux AMI. And rest of the part connected to the @ is public DNS basically. So this is the one we have over here. This is the public DNS. It's the same thing. And make sure that your key file you have full access for read at least, so you are able to read your key files. And if it doesn't have the read permissions, so it will again give the permission related issue while you are uh, running this or running this command, right? So while executing this command, you may get error if you have not given a proper permissions, right? So I'm going to copy this and launch the CMD prompt. And prompt title, I can see my Keypair file name. So this is the Keypair file name, and I'm going to paste the um, uh, path of complete command with my file. So this file is into the same directory over here, so there's no change required. So if you are not into the same directory, then please add your path. So suppose if I am in the C download, so if I'm not in C download, so then I'll use this path basically to locate my file properly. So suppose if I am elsewhere, I should put this path and then try to execute this command. This is equivalent to whatever directly putting the file, because we are into the same place. And after saying yes, you should be able to connect it. You can see that you are into your local drive, home drive of your EC2 instance, and currently there is nothing in your local drive, but you can do your file folder creations. Um, and execute some of the commands and see that what happens. So I can create some of the files and see that how this works, right? So there's nothing in the cat right now in the test file, so it doesn't show up. So this is all about how you connect over the SSH, right? Main thing is the security groups and the key files. So if you have a key file downloaded and it has the proper access, minimum access is the 400, so you should give the access as a chmod 400, which will ensure the read permission by the user. So that's all. Make sure to terminate it from the instance state. You should use terminate option over here. Once you terminate it, this connectivity will no longer be there. It will be force closed because you have already terminated. And this is going to take a couple of seconds or close to minute. And once this is terminated, you will see the instance state as a terminated, and thereafter you will not be able to get back this resource. So this will be freed up. There is a process of collecting the terminated resources from Amazon, so that will run on the scheduled time. And um, you may see that this instance is still up and still there in the dashboard or here as a terminated state, but this will not go very immediately. It will take some time. So wherever the scheduled job will run to clean it up, it will pick it up and then clean it. So it is going to take some time. This is not going to be charged. So this is after you terminate it, there's no bill continue to happen. There's no charge happening. So that's all about the instance cleanup. Going back to the dashboard, we'll just verify what we have done. So earlier we had a 4 key pair. We have downloaded one more. So new key pair has been created, and these key pairs can be seen over here. So you can list out all of the key pairs. We have this one as the latest. So this is the one that we have created from our side. Coming back to the EC2 dashboard, we have also created the security group, which is nothing but this last one, which we have created with the inbound rules for this thing. So I can leave the key pair and the security groups because they are not going to be charged. So they are free of cost. We can leave it for future use. If you want, you can use them for the next practice. So that's all I have. Hope you liked this video, and you have also practiced to learn the steps. And hope I was clear on the different concepts which is associated with the EC2 instances. And hope my explanation was understood by you. If not, if there is any question or any other question that you want to discuss on the EC2 or AWS cloud itself in general, please feel free to type your question in a comments. And please do like my video if you liked it. If not, then I'll try to improve and get it better resource for you in our next video. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in our next video.